Mark, we've known each other a few years on and off. Really lovely to see you. A surreal experience. We're at the Malvern show. We're on a beach.
We are on a beach.
We got this lovely sand. Somebody talking in the background. That's not me, is it? Anyway, we're just touching on what a surreal season this has been. And it's been a total roller coaster for growing and anybody in the industry. Tell me how it's affected you, Mark.
It's been really, years, I don't, maybe it's just me getting older, but it feels like years are getting, every sort of spring becomes less predictable, less linear, It seems to, it can kind of arrive and then be amazing and then go back into winter, back out to summer, past spring, then back into spring. I mean, where are we? We're kind of middle of June, and 3 nights ago, our heating came on.
Yes.
It was that cold.
There were frosts in Scotland.
It's crazy.
Just absolutely
crazy.
Bonkers.
So lots of things. I mean, lots of stuff in the garden's just taken time to come along, and things I love like mulberries. They tend to come into leaf late on.
Yes.
When everything you hope is behind you in terms of cold weather, but they're stop-starty. A few things have had a nip to them, but I think it's that thing of everything is a few weeks behind, and then if you do get an extended period of warmth like we did a couple of weeks ago, all
it's just an explosion of growth.
Totally that.
It really is.
Yeah, so it's odd, but that's...
Nature catches up and sort of gets back in tune.
It is. It's the nature of gardening, and it's there's something I quite like about it in a weird way, because I'm more switched on to it than I think a non-gardener is. Non-gardener would go, "Oh, it's been a crap spring," whereas I would be. It started like this. There was this gorgeous window when it was just glorious, and so I think we're maybe more attuned to the kind of detail of it, which I quite like. But it's the way it goes, isn't it?
You've been very much into producing food, writing food, and talking about it, and also encouraging people to grow strange and weird and wonderful things. And I've got to thank you. From years ago, you told me, "Pete, try Szechuan pepper." And I said, "Szechuan pepper, growing that in England?" And blow me, this thing is now over 6 foot tall. It's this big, and it's prickly as hell.
Yeah.
My God, it is prickly. But those little bundles of dynamite,
they're quite
they
something.
They really are quite fiery.
Quite something. I'm really chuffed that you went for it, because to me they are. I just get so much pleasure out of them. When the leaves come through, they're really spicy and warm, and you can use the young leaves in salads and stuff. And even the kind of more established leaves, the scent on them is just.
It is.
But then, as you say, the peppercorns, they tend to be around. The peppercorns kind of get ready. Maybe I say ready.
September-ish.
Yeah, they'll be green maybe earlier, green peppercorns maybe around Hampton Court-ish, depending on a bit later this year, but most years around Hampton Court, early July. There'll be green peppercorns, quite small, but then they'll plump up a bit, and as you say, by September, they've got that vivid, full-on...
And they hang on the plant for quite a considerable length of time if you don't pick them.
Yeah. You can get sometimes until December, depending on what the weather's like and all of that, and you can pick, twist them off at any point, when they're green all the way through to when they're pink, redder and redder, but the time you've got to pick them by really is the outer casing just starts to split, and that will release the seed, and the seed hasn't got a whole load of flavour to it at all. It's the casing that has nearly all of it, but if you pick them just before they empty out the seed, then you kind of moderate the intensity of it, so when you're bunging it through a grinder, you get the full-on heat diluted a little bit with the fairly flavourless seed. That means you're not kind of giving yourself way too much of this thing.
Got you.
Although if you like it, then just have the outer coating, But there's just such pleasurable, easy, no grief plants,
Yeah.
And it's growing your own pepper, and everybody eats pepper,
I seem to get through an awful lot of it.
Yeah. It's
well, certainly a lot of the black stuff as well.
Yeah.
But you've brought out a brand new book this April called Herbs.
Yep.
Just pure and simple, that is what it is on the tin.
Yep.
Tell me a bit more about it and what you've tried to do.
It's really what I wanted to do was open the whole world of herbs beyond what we normally do. So it's a cook's companion. Yes, there's lots of information in there about growing herbs and about different flavours and going beyond our usual, the ones we all know and love, and really kind of throwing that door open of flavour to everyone. So yes, there are the familiar things like coriander and mint and thyme and rosemary that we
Use
all know
all the
and love.
time.
Yeah, and they're all fantastic. But there are so many others that beyond that. So even if you just look at the variations of those, there's orange thyme, there's Vietnamese coriander, there's ginger rosemary. There's all of these little tweaks that are beyond the familiar that make such a difference that you might think that works with
Thai
this.
basil.
Thai basil.
And what a
Glorious.
pretty plant when it's in flower. The
Beautiful.
bees go bonkers on it, but Thai basil is one of my favourites.
Lovely choice.
Talking of basil, many moons ago, Mr. Titchmarsh said, Pete, you've got to have sweet basil with your carrots. Steam your carrots and chuck in some sweet basil. And I tell you what, it is fabulous. It's
lovely.
really just it
and
really takes the carrots to a different level.
Different place, and not many people have that. Not
No.
many people, and it's, if you think about it, it kind of makes a lot of sense in that lots of people roast carrots with something like fennel seed or something like that has that little back thing of aniseed going on, and there is a kind of vein of that running through basil. There's that sort of slightly mentally, depending on which variety it is, with a bit of aniseed and a bit of this and a bit of that, and it just is totally right. Carrots, getting, again, this is what I hope the book does, is to encourage people to try different things. So basil with carrots, gorgeous. Yes, of course, it's delightful with mozzarella, and it's delightful with tomatoes, but things like lovage or mint.
I was just going to say, lovage is such an underrated herb.
It is.
It's pretty too. You've got these lovely sort of like celery-like leaves. Then it throws up a white flower, which the insects love as well.
Yeah.
But tell me what you can do with what you tend to do with lovage.
Lovage is really interesting. It's quite. It's funny, and we gardeners kind of get a lot of pleasure in complaining, in a light-hearted way. So the thing that lovage is, it gets complained about, which is. We also would complain about it if it was the opposite, is that it's just indestructible. You can run over it in a tank and 2 days later you can harvest some, But it's pretty lively. I would say things I use it for most, if you're not familiar with if people watching aren't familiar with the flavour, it's quite like kind of stock, like a stock that you would stir into a soup.
Soup, yeah.
So it's got that lovely kind of savoury, slightly bitter,
slight aniseedy as well.
Yeah,
to smell.
yeah. There's bits of that going on. There's quite a lot of umami, that kind of mushroomy savouriness. So I use it a lot early and late in soups and stews. It's very good. An old Lancashire recipe is to wrap crumbly cheese, like Lancashire or Cheshire cheese, in the leaves. Okay. Leave it in the fridge for a couple of days. Take the leaves off.
in parts.
Exactly that. But the other thing that is really amazing with it, I mean, there's so many ways of using it, and you can infuse it in vodka. So you take a bottle of vodka, just stick some leaves, a big stem and a leaf, a few leaves of it, into vodka with a little bit of sugar, and that is extraordinary. It's a really wonderful thing. But you just make a syrup, equal amounts of water and sugar. Just dissolve the sugar, throw in some leaves, and when it's cooled down and it's the flavour you want, you take the leaves out. That syrup is incredible. I'll make a cocktail later on, which is gin, apple juice, lime juice, and lovage syrup. And what you've got going on there is kind of sweetness in the syrup. You've got a bit of bitterness with the lovage. You've got a bit of sharpness with the lime juice. Right. You've got the apple juice, which is kind of sweet but also tart. A bit of fruitiness as well, and you've got the gin for a bit of wallop. And it's
you're making me thirsty.
This is it. Lots of.
Well, it is only 11:15 in the morning, so I think it's a tad early.
I'm sorry. we'll do them a little late, just to let you get a bit of lunch inside you. But there's so many lovely ways of playing with herbs in a way that maybe get beyond what we're familiar with doing.
Well, Jack has been very much the herb queen for many, many, many years, and she's the doyenne when it comes to herbs, and we all sort of a bit like this. But it's not. You love your, as I said earlier, you love your fruit and veg, and writing about it. And you're down in South, East Devon.
Yes.
And we've bumped into each other in Honiton High Street in the past. Over a coffee, and it's a lovely part of the world. And what are you up to down in Devon? Because I know you've got, dare I say, it's normally a lot milder and a tad wetter down there.
Well, it's interesting at the moment because we've just moved to a new house, and we're kind of doing planning the gardens, which is absolutely lovely because you kind of get to wipe away all of the mistakes you made before, and kind of take all of that you hope wisdom, and then you would just make different mistakes, which is fine. But I'm growing a lot of things in containers while we're figuring out exactly what's going to go where, and that's a real pleasure, because just having some containers by the back door changes everything you eat. So lots of herbs again, lots of different mints, lots of lemon verbena, and at different times, all of that kind of stuff. Planting this garden in due course. Writing. That's something I really love doing. So
because you write for the Telegraph, and you're in all sorts of bits and pieces all over the place.
I do.
You're a very busy boy.
I'd spent a long part of my life doing jobs I was either no good at or didn't like, and I think if you find something that you love, it's really delightful to spend plenty of time doing it. And I do. I love that kind of being anywhere involved in any part of that journey from plot to plate, whether it's the growing or the cooking or the preserving or whatever, and writing and doing it, photography.
Are you still teaching and having your little courses and stuff like that?
Yeah, we're going to do lots of courses. We're just organising some at the moment, which will be running hopefully in the autumn. And obviously, being at the shows now, there's Tatton, there's Malvern,
so
there's
nice
Chelsea,
to be back at a show.
The joy. People walking around, enjoying the same things as you, and yes, that there's a whole world of people out there who love all the same things as you, but actually seeing them and kind of being in a crowd of people who are getting the same pleasure as you of finding that nursery who does these amazing plants, or that place who does this, or whatever. It's just it's a proper joy.
Well, talking of which, I think we better wrap this up, and I think we need to go off and find some plants and do a bit of retail therapy. I think
exactly that. Go and see a few of the lovely nurseries here.
But thank you so much for talking
pleasure
to me, and Mark, thank you very much.
It's a pleasure.
Cheers.